All right, everybody. We are now moving into Module 11, which is all about selling and exiting your flip. At this point, you have acquired the property, managed the renovation, and prepared it for sale. Now is time for one of the most exciting and critical parts, selling and exiting your flip. This module will cover marketing strategies to attract strong buyers, how to handle offers, negotiations, and contingencies, the closing process step by step. Section 1 is marketing your property. Most investors think marketing just means throwing it on the MLS, but top flippers create demand beyond that, and that's what gets you higher offers. Number 1, you want to build a hot listing before you even go live. Start marketing 3 to 7 days before listing. Share the staged photos, post renovations on social media, like the before and after. Build the buzz with local agents if you have those connections. Tell wholesalers and industry contacts it doesn't hurt. And create a coming soon post as well, which your agent should be doing this for you, but you can always bring it up to them. And lastly, start collecting potential buyer and agent contacts that you have found and start shooting it to them directly. People buy faster when they feel like others want it too. Number 2, you want to list everywhere your buyers are. You're not just hoping for a buyer, you're chasing them. Your agent will be throwing it on the MLS, which will essentially syndicate to other sites like Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, Trulia, all these other sites. But sometimes your agent won't go what I'm about to discuss, and that's tossing your listing on Facebook Marketplace yourself, and as well as local real estate groups that you might find on Facebook and other local networks. You can also do your own Instagram reels, TikTok before and after videos to create more excitement, to then have people reach out to other real estate agents saying, hey, I want to see this house. It also goes a long way to do an entire YouTube property walkthrough where you are doing room to room, kitchen to bathroom, wherever, the entire house, the outside, inside, attic, basement, giving everyone a full scope of the property. And this also helps you get a little bit more of a YouTube credibility and get your views up there as well. And if your agent is doing an open house, you want to make sure to support them and blast those open house flyers anywhere electronically, physically, wherever you want to. Help them out as you can to get the most visibility, because the most visibility just equals high demand, which equals higher offers. Number 3 is to host strategic open houses. And this is a conversation that you'll have with your agent, but if you have a good agent, they probably already know all of this anyways, but it's good to just bring it up. You really want to focus on day 1 or weekend 1. So to maximize turnout, this is what we usually do as well, is list on a Thursday, and then you'll have a lot of showings on Saturday, Sunday, through the weekend. But you can also limit showing windows, which creates a lot of urgency. And then have the property flyer with selling points just sitting on the kitchen. So whenever they come in, they're going to pick up this flyer and they're going to know exactly what you've done, what you've updated, and what maybe some local things are. Like maybe there's a park nearby, for example. And you want to let your agent handle all the buyer conversations and with the buyer's agents as well. Like you don't want to be involved in all of that because it kind of takes the emotion out of it. Whenever you get maybe an insulting offer, you're not going to flip out. Maybe your agent can be that middleman to talk you off the ledge of being so aggressive back. And in my opinion, it's much better just to let the agent handle those kind of conversations. But one thing that you can request from your agent is to collect the contact information of every buyer agent that comes in, because what we have noticed is that they don't always leave feedback. And if you want to get that feedback, if you've had 10 showings and no one submitted an offer, there's probably something going on here. So it's good to get that feedback from other agents. And if your agent is being stubborn and doesn't want to reach out to them, maybe you can, but your agent will be more than happy to reach out to the buyer's agents and see what the feedback was. Why didn't your buyer like this house? What was wrong with it? And having the limiting showing windows, it also creates more urgency, because when people see that that's the only time available to do showings and you allow overlap showings, there could be 5, 6, 7 people in there at once, which means buyers assume it's going to be competitive. So if they want to do an offer, they'll probably put in a higher offer, which just goes in your favor as well. And in your flyers and the listing description, you want to create emotion, not just features. People buy emotionally and then justify it logically. So you want to use language like spa-like master retreat, chef-inspired kitchen, backyard ready for summer barbecues. Move-in ready turnkey home. You're not selling walls, you're selling a lifestyle, and you want to have them visualize them living in that house by reading the description, seeing what's on the flyer, and helping it come more to life for them. So section 2 of this module is negotiating offers and dealing with contingencies. Once the offers come in, the real strategy begins. Don't just accept the highest number. Look at the full picture and understand the components of an offer. So look beyond the price. First and foremost, compare offers based on the feature and then why it matters. So let me break down a few here for you. So when you get an offer in, one of the features is going to be the purchase price, of course. And why that matters is that's your top line profit. Next up would be the financing type, whether it's cash, FHA loan, a conventional loan, a VA loan. And why that matters is the deal strength. Next up would be the contingencies, which is the appraisal, inspection, financing. And why that matters is because of the risk level. Next up is the earnest money deposit. And why that matters is because it shows the commitment level of that buyer. Next up is the requested credits and repairs. And why that matters is because it can reduce the profit. Another feature is the closing timeline, and why that matters is because of the holding cost impact that would affect you personally. And then the last feature is just the buyer flexibility. Is it going to be a smooth or stressful closing? Do they have a house that they have to sell before they can even move in here? A lot of things right there that you need to look for, but that's the high level of understanding the components of an offer. Number 2 is the types of contingencies and how to manage them. I just named a few, but the inspection contingency is the buyers may request repairs or credits, and the strategy is to offer credits instead of repairs. It's just faster and less risk. The next contingency is the appraisal contingency, and that is the appraised value, and the risk with that is the appraised value lower than the offer price. And if so, your options are to ask the buyer to cover the difference, or you can reduce the price, or you can go and try and find better comps to dispute the appraisal. And the last contingency that we just discussed is the financing contingency. And essentially, if a buyer's loan were to fall through, closing could be delayed or even canceled. So if you get a cash offer or a conventional are essentially the strongest types of offers that you can get. And with VA and FHA, there's just a little bit more loopholes you have to go through. There's just more requirements in those type of loan products. So number 3 is when to choose a lower priced offer. And sometimes a $310,000 clean offer is better than a $320,000 high risk offer. You want to choose the offer with strong financing or even cash, no repair requests, a faster close, maybe no appraisal risk, and if they have a serious buyer that submitted a very high earnest money. The peace of mind is definitely your profit. Number 4 is how to counter offer like a pro. If an offer is good but not great, counter with a higher price, removal of some contingencies, maybe an earlier closing date, buyer to cover the inspection or appraisal repairs, or you can even request them to submit higher earnest money to keep them very committed. Investors don't just accept offers, they do negotiate. So all of this is negotiable whenever they do submit an offer. Section 3 of this module is the closing process. Once you go under contract, your job is to guide the deal safely to closing without losing money or time. And your agent should be very involved in this as well. So what happens during the escrow process? When the contract is accepted, the earnest money is deposited. When the inspection period is going on, there are possible repair negotiations. And if the appraisal has been ordered and reviewed, then what happens is the value is either approved or renegotiated. When the title search and clearance is happening, they're looking for no liens, unpaid taxes, ownership issues. And then in the final walkthrough stage, the buyer is just verifying the condition that it's still in from whenever they saw it. And then the last stage is the closing day, which you sign, receive the funds, and ownership transfers. So a few common issues and solutions during closing. Issue number 1 is the appraisal could be too low. And the solution is to just have the buyer cover the difference, request a second appraisal, or you're going to have to adjust the price down. Another issue could be inspection problems. The solution to that would be to offer credit instead of a repair, or you could just repair. It's your decision. Another issue could be the buyer financing being delayed. The solution to that would be to extend closing, or you could even charge a per day fee, but that gets a little bit tricky. We usually just extend closing. Another issue could be a title issue. And the solution to that is to clear liens or request some sort of legal support to negotiate where these title issues are at. The last issue that I want to talk about is the buyer requests last minute repairs. And the solution to that is to just negotiate credits instead. Because if they're doing their final walkthrough on the last day and realize, oh, this wasn't done and we did ask about it, just give them a credit instead of having to get a whole nother contractor out there to do it again, because that's just more holding costs that is just going to delay the closing process. So we usually just give a credit. Another pro tip here is that we always like to schedule closing early in the month. And the reason is if it's delayed, you'll still close within the same month. And that just saves you an additional holding cost of having to pay your hard money lender or your private money lender. It's just good to close early in the month. The last section in this module is calculating a true profit after all expenses. You don't truly know if you made money until you run the final profit calculation. The flip profit formula is just the net profit equals the sale price, and then subtract the purchase price, the rehab costs, your holding costs, the selling costs, the financing costs, and then that will finally equal your real profit. And then there's always a few expense categories that a lot of new investors always forget. For example, the holding costs for taxes, insurance, utilities, HOA, fees, and documents, as well as financing costs. Did you pay points up front to get that lender or fees? Those are costs that should be included in this calculation. And then there's, of course, selling costs, such as commissions, staging, the photographer, if you had to pay for all of that as well. Closing fees, though that includes the title, the legal fees, the transfer taxes, the property taxes that you may have had to pay prorated while you had the property. And then lastly, just unexpected costs, repairs, delays, price reductions as well. You want to make sure you have your right number there for the sale price. You could easily flip a home and make $35,000 on paper, but then only make $18,000 in actual real profit. That's why accurate tracking definitely matters. There's also it's called the profit goal rule. We really don't use it a whole lot, but I'm going to talk about it today. To stay safe in flipping, if it's like an entry-level type of market, your ideal profit's going to be like $15,000 to $25,000. Mid-market, $30,000 to $50,000, and then like a high-end type of market, you're looking at like a $50,000 to $100,000 ideal profit. Usually it's just applying the 10% rule, essentially, where your net profit should be at least 10% of whatever the ARV number is. Last up in this section is to use a final profit sheet, and it's basically an Excel document or a Google Doc that breaks everything down, very detailed. You want to have the purchase and acquisition costs, the rehab, the materials, the labor and contractor pay, the holding and financing costs, the selling and closing fees, and of course your final net profit. I just recommend every investor build a real spreadsheet for tracking. You'll need it for taxes, lenders, and even your next deal to show that you've been doing this and you have credibility as a flipper. And essentially that wraps up Module 11, selling and exiting your flip. You now know how to market your property like a professional, negotiate strong offers and protect your profit, close confidently even when challenges come up, and calculate your real net profit after all the expenses. This is how you turn flipping from a hobby into a business. I'll see you in the very last module.